Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. On June 1st at the Bloomington Community Advisory on Public Safety Commission meeting, member Carolyn Lanenbach suggested that the commission look into making Bloomington a sanctuary city for individuals receiving gender-affirming care.
So this kind of is a follow-up from that. Of course, Senate Enrolled Act 480 is just passed, and it's going to come into action on July 1st. And that's going to ban gender affirming care for people under the age of 18. Folks that are currently receiving gender affirming care are going to have to cease receiving gender affirming care according to this law. So at least one other city, Kansas City, has declared themselves like a sanctuary city for transgender folks. And I feel like that would be a very reasonable thing for us to propose to the Bloomington government here. What you're saying is that as a city, Bloomington would choose not to aggressively pursue any prosecution of people receiving that care, their family members, or healthcare workers who are trying to prescribe gender affirming care as well. So I think it would be something that we could research up. A lot of these laws are specifically targeting gender minorities, and a lot of times, like transgender youth are the most greatly affected. And there's a lot of mental health fallout from that. Folks are feeling a lot of stress and anxiety related to that, concerns about receiving health care. So I feel like that would be a possible proposition that we could write up and submit as a group if anybody else is interested in working on that.
Next, Commission member Naishla Routsong gave an update on the Alternative Public Safety Outreach Special Committee.
So for the Alternative Public Safety Outreach Special Committee, we're working on compiling our report and recommendations. And we're a bit behind on the deadline or the timeline of what we had hoped due to 2 of the 3 of us getting severely ill in the last couple of weeks. However, we are making progress on processing the data and information that we received in our outreach and compiling our recommendations based on that outreach. The report itself will represent 2 years of research and outreach and will cover the background, process, independent research, and community outreach that was performed. And so it's going to be at least 20 pages, and the recommendations will hopefully be less than 5 pages. Based on this unexpected delay and the very large, comparatively compared to most of our work, large size of the report, our special committee does ask for all of the commission members to please check your email frequently in the next few weeks. And if you're able to attend 1 to 2 working meetings. I don't know if there's already a working session scheduled. If not, we may ask if we can schedule one in possibly even 2 before the next CAPS meeting in July, so that we can get as much feedback as possible from everyone on the commission on our work before presenting it in July at the next meeting, since we actually don't have time in these meetings to do real work as far as, going over reports and making recommendations for revision. That needs to take place outside our regular meetings. And so I'm again apologize for the delay in having this report finished. We do hope to have it finished very soon. And at that point, our plan is to email it to everyone on the commission in advance of the meeting and then schedule 1 to 2 work sessions where any commissioners who are interested and able could attend and give their detailed feedback on revisions for the reports and recommendations. And just as an FYI, part of our recommendations will include how we suggest that the commission continues work on this topic after the special committee dissolves. Because the special committee is planned to dissolve after the report is turned in.
Following her report, the commission discussed planning a community event. Route Song gave an update on a Black genealogy project, which was previously designated as a Juneteenth event, and suggested working with the IU Cinema.
That, obviously, it's not going to be for Juneteenth now because the timing, but also Cammie had already mentioned that she was thinking the event might be better in September or October. Because of, I guess, some events that they're planning at the Monroe County History Center around that time, around Black genealogy. And we are talking to another speaker about possibly working with us on that. So that's a possibility. Another possibility is something, again, that's later on the agenda, but for IU Cinema, they actually offer a program called Screen Share where you can suggest a film. And I was thinking on the topic of alternative public safety, like one thing we mentioned at the town hall was that our special committee was hoping that our commission might help reframe public safety in our community from a law enforcement lens to a more community-based view of public safety. And there's actually a documentary that came out this year in 2023 that interviewed lots of experts on this topic, including Alex Vitale. He's interviewed in this, that's making the round in national screenings. So that I was going to propose that our commission work on collaborating with IU Cinema to host that film sometime in the next year. It doesn't have to be in the fall. But that, yeah, those are just my thoughts on possibilities as well. But again, I think there's no reason why we can't do multiple events as well.
I think that's a great idea too, and we could be there for that.
Yeah, and we have $1,000 in funding now, so we gotta figure out, didn't you guys do everything basically for free at the library?
Yeah.
So we got a lot of opportunity and options now that it's opened up to. And do you think we could just have like a Google Doc, or I don't know if Excel would be better, just something where we can start charting in like different ideas for events, and just so we can all collaborate on that way? Cool.
While you're already talking about that, do you just want to move to that a little bit and just discuss how that's going? That you kind of mentioned a little bit with that, but just
What's the net?
Well, for the Juneteenth event, you had mentioned a little bit.
So yeah, it's not going to be a Juneteenth event. That would better be changed. The name of that event could be better be described in the agenda as Black genealogy event rather than Juneteenth. Initially, when Cammie had the idea back in February, she thought maybe Juneteenth, but actually she'd already decided a long time ago that Juneteenth wasn't a good time. Plus there's lots of Juneteenth events in Bloomington. And so I think also because we're collaborating with the Monroe County History Center on that. And I think September or October, she said, was now the new time that we're aiming for. But yeah, the most update is that we reached out to some possible speakers in Indianapolis, waited to hear back for a few weeks, did not hear back, reached back out to the Monroe County History Center, and they gave us the name of a Black woman, I've got it written here, Caretha Doolin Hale. She wrote her biography on From Slavery to Statehood, A Family History in the Creek Nation. And so we're talking with her about possibly being a speaker and organizing the event around that. And again, I believe the Monroe County History Center has said that they could put up some funds to pay for her. So hopefully we wouldn't need to dip into our own funds that much for this.
The Bloomington Community Advisory on Public Safety Commission will meet again on July 6th. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
Do you know that thousands of children go without school supplies every day? Teachers Warehouse is a 100% volunteer-powered organization. We service the educational and creative needs of students in Monroe, Brown, Greene, Lawrence, and Owen counties by distributing school supplies free to the teachers. Teachers Warehouse is composed of 7 rooms filled with books, pencils, paper, and even tools to motivate students. If it's in a classroom, we'll supply it.
Welcome back to CATSweek. The Monroe County Election Board met on June 1st. Chief Deputy Clerk Tree Martin shared that 2 candidates submitted late candidate filing forms and asked the board to decide what should be done.
You have 2 late filings, and they've both been cured. One of them was due on 4/17, and they brought, it was due on 4/14, and they brought it in 4/17. This is a first-time offense. The second one is a political party. It was due on January the 18th, and they returned it on April 3rd. Again, this is a first-time offense. So we need to decide on what do you want to do with both of these.
According to our previously voted on procedures, I believe this is a warning for both. Is that right?
The board unanimously voted to approve the warning for the 2 late CFA4 filings. Next, board member David Henry asked for clarification on the Steinsville and Ellettsville polling locations.
Looking ahead to the calendar for polling locations for Steinsville and Ellettsville. We're just waiting on whether or not parties conduct ballot vacancy caucus, if those would end up being contested, right?
Well, back before the primary, we talked about this, so I did bring this, and it says, a resolution is not needed, but the board must consider this topic. State law says that the uncontested races do not need to be on the ballot. However, party chairs have requested that uncontested races be placed on the ballots in both the city of Bloomington and the town of Ellettsville. So I'm assuming we're going to stay with that?
Yeah, that's fair. And so Steinsville, though,
Steinsville doesn't have an election.
correct. Correct. Okay, that's what I was checking out mostly, Steinsville. All right. Thanks for answering my question.
You're welcome.
All right.
The next Monroe County Election Board meeting will be held on July 6th. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
For hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
The web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the causes to make that happen, many of them would be unable to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
It takes me out of my comfort zone, and it also helps others.
CASA means supporting our community.
Being a CASA is making sure that your village is healthy and whole, and that the children in your village will someday be able to help the village as well.
A child who doesn't have a voice, maybe in their family situation or a school situation, now has a voice that can advocate for them.
I really enjoy working with children that are going through difficult times and letting them know that I care about their future.
We are privileged with our charge of representing the best interest of children. And so therefore we can advocate for exactly what they need without restriction, focusing on their best interest.
I want to repair the world one child at a time.
Welcome back to CATSweek. At the Monroe County Commissioners meeting on May 31st, the commissioners read a proclamation in honor of Wear Orange Day, bringing awareness to gun violence in the U.S.
This is a proclamation for Wear Orange Day. Whereas on average, 120 Americans are killed each day with guns, and Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other high-income countries. And in Indiana, which has some of the weakest gun laws in the country, firearms are the leading cause of death for children and teens.
And gun suicide claims the lives of almost 24,000 people in the U.S. every year and access to a gun increases the risk of death by suicide by 3 times. And according to Everytown for Gun Safety, there are an average of 1,086 gun deaths in Indiana every year. And support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories. And local law enforcement officers know their communities best and are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we're good. Whereas in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15. And on June 2nd, 2023, to recognize the 26th birthday of Hadia Pendleton, who was born June 2nd, 1997, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to Hadia Pendleton and other victims of gun violence and the loved ones of those victims. And the idea for a Gun Violence Awareness Day was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And by wearing orange on June 2nd, 2023, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. Now, therefore, we, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, proclaim June 2nd, 2023 as Wear Orange Day, proclaimed this 31st day of May 2023 by the Monroe County Board of Commissioners.
Commissioner Penny Githens shared some additional information that she found while she was researching the subject of gun violence.
As I was prepping for some of this, I also came across a lot of startling other numbers that are just very upsetting to me. And I'd like to share with the public that as a member of Moms Demand Action, I want to let people know that if you have a handgun and want a safety lock for it, if you contact us at the Board of Commissioners, we will put you in contact with Moms Demand Action to make a free gun safety lock available for that gun, for that handgun. There are other things that we didn't put in this proclamation, but every month roughly 7 women are shot and killed by their partners, and 2/3 of women killed by an intimate partner are killed with a gun. And while we read the statistics on suicide, about 24,000 people in the U.S. dying every year, that's 65 people a day, all across the country. Black Americans are disproportionately impacted by gun violence. There are 10 times the gun homicides and 18 times the gun assault injuries for Black Americans as opposed to white Americans. And although we've already talked about the number of Americans killed, which is about 40,000 people right now, twice as many are wounded every year. This is a sad state in our country, and we would like to work to change that.
Next, Health Department Director Lori Kelly gave an update on COVID-19 and other Health Department developments for the month of April.
Just a few updates for you this morning. In Monroe County, reported COVID cases, hospitalizations, and emergency room visits have all taken a large decrease as of May 23rd. And I thought that I would take a moment to provide you with a few general updates on some of the work that has been completed within the Health Department. These metrics reflect the work completed during the month of April. So for our Vital Records Division, 380 birth certificates were issued, 655 death certificates were issued. In our general environmental health services, they completed 5 mosquito investigations, 25 pool inspections, 10 solid waste inspections, and 4 hours spent on animal bite reports. Our wastewater division responded to 5 sewage discharge complaints, 5 miscellaneous complaints, and 19 follow-up complaints. 4 real estate septic inspections were completed and 3 follow-up inspections. Employees also completed 7 on-site evaluations. Our foods division completed 64 routine inspections, responded to 7 complaints, completed 5 pre-opening inspections, and performed 6 plan reviews. Our public health preparedness coordinator attended 10 trainings and spent 66 hours on updating our response plans. Our population health and outreach spent a total of 135 hours on our harm reduction program and attended 15 meetings. Our disease intervention employees completed a total of 303 open cases. And lastly, our Futures Family Planning Clinic completed 24 annual exams and had a total of 41 patient visits for the month of April.
During public comment, Monroe County resident Imanya Manny spoke about Bloomington Speedway and the noise ordinance. Manny said that he was all right with the noise and that the Speedway should be allowed to continue past 11 p.m.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ananya Manny, and I'm a resident of Monroe County. And to be more specific, a resident of Southside, where I can actually hear the cars pretty clearly on the racetrack. I do not race, and I know that the noise is loud, yet I'm okay with the noise after 11 p.m. since it is not a daily occurrence, but a few days, maybe 10 to 20 days out of 365. I have a lot of questions, but I'm sure those questions will not be answered. But I would still like to ask these questions, and I'm sure even the constituents you serve know the answer. I'm not sure if any of the commissioners reached out, or even any members from the board ever bothered reaching out, asking, or listening to your constituents who live there and are okay with the noise that's coming after 11 p.m. If the noise ordinance has exceptions, then why is it that Bloomington Speedway, which I'm sure is probably 100 years old, does not have one? Why was that not grandfathered in? Why is this pick and choose policy applied here? I can agree that a few people probably might have issues with it, but imposing the feelings of a few on a majority of people who are okay with Bloomington Speedway going after 11 p.m. is something that's not right. I think we need to be a little more tolerant.
County Attorney Jeff Cockerell responded and addressed the 11 p.m. noise ordinance.
I think a couple things that the commenter had wrong was the 11 p.m. is different from everywhere else. It was 10 p.m. in our noise ordinance for everything else. Once that noise ordinance was put into place, there was an agreement between the county and the Speedway for that 11 p.m. Time. So, it's the 11 p.m. is nothing new. It's been there since the ordinance was established. And so this is trying to, and what the commissioners did last week was allow the sheriff and alert the sheriff that, he's the one who enforces the noise ordinance and at that time, and that here are the rules, because they are different than what it would be for the general public. So there has been that kind of compromise that occurred well before I was here, and I would echo that I live close enough to the racetrack that I can hear it, and it doesn't bother me either. But I think that those rules that were established at that time are what was being discussed last week, and not any new or change to those rules.
Commissioner Penny Giffens noted that they have heard from the public both in support and opposition to the noise ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Cockerell. And I will say that we have heard from people who support and people who disagree with the ordinance. We have heard definitely from both sides on this issue.
Next, Facilities and Fleet Manager Richard Kreider asked the board to approve 3 contracts. He explained that the contracts are to relocate the badge reader on the entrance of the Curry Building.
This request is to approve the proposal submitted to relocate the badge reader and supporting hardware from the interior set of vestibule doors to the exterior set
Recording in progress.
At the main entrance of the Curry Building. Currently, the exterior entrance doors do not lock, which allow access to the vestibule at all hours of the day and night. This project will require work from 3 contractors. B-Tech Fire and Security will install lock hardware and relocate the badge reader in the amount of $2,090. Elite Electric LLC will install an electrical receptacle in the amount of $200. Matrix Integration will run the network cable in the amount of $1,685 for a total project cost of $3,975.
Githens commented that she was glad to have local businesses working on the project.
I am always pleased to see when we can award these kinds of contracts to local businesses as well. I think we have established a really good working relationship, and they always seem to respond very quickly when we have a need like this. So I applaud the work to bring in local folks.
The commissioners unanimously approved the contracts. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.